Away from that, civil society organizations, CSOs, have described as unnecessary the National Assembly's efforts to create 10 new states in Nigeria, citing economic and developmental concerns. Now, they argue that most existing states are unviable and underdeveloped, urging the legislature to focus on promoting good governance and granting autonomy to local government. The bill, which proposed states like Coastal, Tiga, Etiti, Anioma, Okeogun, have passed various legislative stages but face criticism. CSOs, including CISLAC, Yiaga Africa, and Citizens Participation Against Corruption Initiative, question the economic viability of new state, emphasizing the need to improve governance in current ones. Critics claim state creation serves political interests rather than addressing infrastructure, healthcare, and education deficits. And to dive deeper into that conversation, we're joined by legal practitioner Tunji Abdulhameed. Good evening, glad to have you join me on the news.
Good evening, thank you for having me.
All right, so let me kick off by asking what you think are the legal procedures and as well as requirements for the creation of new state according to the Constitution of Nigeria. And then why do you think civil societies believe this process should be scrutinized?
Yeah, I think the procedure for creation of state is as contained in Section 8 of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. And that procedure requires that it will be considered as a bill at the National Assembly. And when I say National Assembly, I mean both the Senate and the Rep. And it will go through the states because it must be approved by at least two-thirds, because two-thirds of the House of Assembly of the states, because it has to do with what's it called? Constitutional amendments. So it must go through all those processes as required by law for it to be approved as a state. So in other words, it's a complex procedure which must be followed before it can be passed. I think for you to say you are asking for a state, there's no any clear requirement in the Constitution as to what must you have to say you are asking for. You know that there are what's it called, land demarcation that must be available for you to say we want a state of so whatever. But it must be in line with the Constitution, and then they must go through that process before it can be passed. But do we need new states now? That is the question that's been asked, and which I think it is not necessary as far as I'm concerned. We do not require more states as it is today, because the states that we have already, we can't even maintain them. They are not even viable. They cannot even be costed because they can't sustain themselves. So if you are creating more states, what are you creating them for? Is it for the purpose of a political exigency, or for the purpose of ensuring good governance? If it's for good governance, I think we don't need the creation of more states. I want to align myself with the civil society group, and I want to also align myself regarding their recommendation that local government should be given more power to be able to do things. Because I was in a particular state last week or so, and I was going through some area in that state. I said, look, this state is too large and for one governor to handle. But that does not mean we must have more states. What we need to do is to empower the local government. In other words, when you have a local government, and you make sure that, look, this local government, all the roads in your area, all the schools in your area, all the health center or hospitals in your area, you must be in your care. You must have the power to deal with them. Don't make it a responsibility of the governor. So if that is given to them, so every local government will know that if they don't have good roads, it's their chairman that is not making them to have it.
Mr. Abdulhameed.
So
yeah, Mr. Abdulhameed, apologies for butting in there. Talking about the local governments, one concern we have seen regarding creation of additional state is regarding, certain, ethnicity being marginalized or underserved. How do you think this current system politically can be reformed to address those concerns without resulting to further fragmentation of states?
The only area that can talk about marginalization I think it is southeast or so. If you talk about geopolitical zones, there is a state that has just 5. There is a political zone that has just 5 states. and where some other people have 7 and some has 6. So if you want to balance that situation, you can say, okay, let's create 1 or more to make this one balance. But to have state everywhere, the way it's going, we have just 10 now. It will become 20 thereafter. I tell you, everybody want to be, and it's not for governance. It's because people, politicians, the more they get state, the more they get more appointments, and that's the essence of it. It's not about governance. So for me, I think, yeah, in that regard, they can balance out. They can just create 1 or 2 states in those areas where they have deficiency to make it up. But to generalize it and say you can bring a request for state creation, you can bring. I know it may not go through. It may not go through. It's just starting at the National Assembly. The first reading is just an introduction. It's where it just passed, and that is just a mere. It's normal. Every bill will definitely pass through the first reading, because first reading is just a place where you introduce the bill to the House, and then they won't do any debate on it. You just tell them the purpose of the bill, and that's all. So let's see how it goes. But for me, I don't think it will be difficult to skate through, because political interest, religious interest, and other interests will come in, and thereafter, and they may not be able to get it right in that regard.
Now let's talk about issues bordering on intertribal wars as well as ethnicity. What do you propose or think should be a lasting solution to address grievances of regions advocating for state creation? Now looking at it long term, what should be a lasting solution to addressing such grievances among ethnicities?
Do we have so much ethnic grants? Well, we may have, because of the way and manner the states were created. If you recall, the states were created not by fiat, not by decree. There was no any proper deliberation as to what to do and how to do, and where to make the local government and where to make the head office or the state capital or so. So in that regard, people are complaining of marginalization to an extent. There are certain areas that are not supposed to have it to be a state. It's a state, or that's not supposed to be the capital of a state capital. But like I said earlier on, I don't see much in that regard. The only area that I see complaint, the new complaint of marginalization, is that area where the region, where they have just less, not up to the par with other region. But aside from that, the region of religion and the other sentiment is just by politicians. They just want to create it to get benefit for themselves. And they know they will use people to talk about marginalization for their own personal benefit. And that's just it. So for me, the idea of religious sentiment, ethnic sentiment has been one of our major problems, and it's going to be difficult to have solution to this problem, except we all have a change of attitude, and we'll see everybody as one, whether you are a Muslim, a Christian, or you are from one particular ethnic sentiment or not. If one will see ourselves one, that's when we'll be able to cure the situation. But as it is today, we are not even seeing ourselves as Nigeria. We are not even seeing ourselves as, if you are from Lagos State or Kwara State, you are not even seeing yourself as member of, as one, as a Kwara or as a Lagosian. You still talk about these are from Ekpe, these are from Badagry, these are from this particular part of it. So that sentiment are too glaring, and until we change our attitude and clear our mind of the fact that, look, we must be talking about one particular entity, and that's where we'll get it right.
And that's a fine place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time on the news. Tunji Abdulhameed, legal practitioner, many thanks indeed.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you.